Steve Bannon made 3 catastrophic mistakes in the span of 90 seconds. First, he agreed to debate Jasmine Crockett on live television. Second, he called her sweetheart. Third, he smiled while doing it. What happened next would trend for 72 hours straight and destroy what was left of his credibility, proving that calling a former public defender sweetheart while you're a twice-convicted felon is not, in fact, a winning strategy. Comment, sweetheart, if you've ever watched a man call a woman that and immediately regret every life choice that led to that moment. This is going to be good. The CNN special had been billed as America's Future, a bipartisan dialogue, which should have been everyone's first clue that it would be neither bipartisan nor a dialogue. The setup was simple. Jake Tapper would moderate a debate between Steve Bannon, former Trump strategist, Breitbart executive, podcast provocateur, and twice-convicted felon, and Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas, former public defender, freshman congresswoman, and the woman who'd recently made bleach blonde bad-built butch body go viral after Marjorie Taylor Greene insulted her. CNN's Atlanta studio was packed with 200 audience members, carefully selected to represent a cross-section of American political views, which meant half of them were already angry, and the other half were waiting to be. Steve Bannon arrived first, because of course he did. He wore what appeared to be 3 rumpled shirts layered over each other, none of them tucked in. His face had that peculiar reddish quality that medical professionals call gin blossoms and everyone else calls, you should probably see a doctor. He looked, as one reporter would later write, like a man who'd been beaten up by his own reflection and then slept in the alley behind the bar. He was in his element. Jasmine Crockett arrived exactly on time, which was somehow more intimidating than being early or late. She wore a crisp suit, her hair perfectly styled, and she brought 3 briefcases, not bags, briefcases, the old-school lawyer kind that click when they open and make a satisfying thud when you set them on a table. Jake Tapper took his position at the moderator's desk with the expression of a man who'd been told his job was to referee a cage match and keep it civil. Good evening, and welcome to this CNN special event, Tapper began. Tonight, we're discussing the future of American democracy with 2 very different perspectives. Bannon interrupted immediately, because waiting for someone to finish speaking was apparently for people who hadn't been convicted of contempt of Congress. Let's cut the BS, Jake. We all know why we're here. The establishment media wants to attack real Americans. They want to silence voices like mine. They want to pretend that. Mr. Bannon, Tapper tried, but Bannon was already gesturing toward Crockett. Sweetheart, let the adults talk first. Okay, we'll get to your feelings in a minute. The audience gasped. The cameras caught it perfectly, that collective intake of breath when everyone in a room simultaneously realizes they're about to witness a murder. Jasmine Crockett's expression didn't change. Her smile just got sharper, more precise, the smile of someone who'd just been handed exactly the opening she needed. Mr. Bannon, she said, her voice perfectly calm. I'm a lawyer, a congresswoman, and a former public defender who spent years in courtrooms. You're a twice-convicted felon who's currently out on bond. But please, do go on about adults. The audience erupted, half in applause, half in shocked laughter, all of them suddenly very awake. Bannon's face went from red to purple. That's a typical leftist smear. It's a court record, Steve. The jury said guilty. The judge said guilty. The only person who disagreed was the president who pardoned you. And even he couldn't save you from the state charges. Tapper tried to regain control. If we could please. Too late. The battle had started, and Jasmine Crockett had brought receipts. Crockett opened her first briefcase with the kind of deliberate calm that prosecutors use when they're about to ruin someone's whole week. You know, Mr. Bannon, I want to thank you for that sweetheart comment. It saves me so much time. Normally, I'd have to spend several minutes establishing why you lack credibility, but you just demonstrated it yourself. Very efficient. She pulled out a thick file. Now, since we're discussing credibility, let's talk about your resume. I notice you like to introduce yourself as a strategist, a political thinker, a voice for the forgotten men, but you left some things off your bio. So, let me help you out. She opened the file. December 2020, you were indicted for fraud, specifically, accused of stealing more than $1 million from donors to the We Build the Wall campaign. You remember that one, right? Bannon leaned back, arms crossed. That was a politically motivated. You told donors that 100% of their money would go to building the wall. You said, and I'm quoting from your own promotional materials, not a penny goes to overhead or salaries. Do you remember saying that? The campaign was legitimate. The campaign paid you $20,000 per month in consulting fees for a year. That's $240,000. You also used donor money for personal expenses, a luxury yacht, hotels, a Cadillac Escalade. The jury saw the receipts. That's why they convicted you. She pulled out another document. President Trump pardoned you on the federal charges, but New York State filed their own charges, different jurisdiction, no presidential pardon available. And then there's your other conviction. She looked up at him. July 2022, convicted of contempt of Congress for refusing to comply with a January 6 committee subpoena. The judge sentenced you to 4 months in federal prison. You just got out in March. Bannon started to speak. Crockett held up a hand. So, when you called me sweetheart, like I'm some naive girl who wouldn't understand complex political issues, I just want to make sure we're all clear on the facts. You're a twice-convicted felon. I'm a lawyer with a law degree who passed the bar exam on the first try. She smiled. So, yes, Steve, you can call me sweetheart. I'll call you what a jury of your peers already called you, twice. Guilty. And unlike your presidential pardon, my law degree actually required passing a test. The audience exploded. Even some of the conservatives were laughing. Bannon's face had gone from purple to something approaching crimson. This is exactly what I'm talking about, the establishment media, the swamp. They're all the jury. The judge was the swamp. The evidence was the swamp. Crockett tilted her head. Or maybe, and I'm just spitballing here, you committed crimes and got caught. She closed the first file and pulled out another. Drop a guilty emoji in the comments if you think we should talk about his other legal problems next, because trust me, we're just getting started.